From the dailies on ECWA TV Africa. This is where we review stories making headlines on our national dailies. I am Boki Yiping, and today I will be taking on the ride with Tosin Owolabi. Tosin, good morning.
Good morning.
How was your night?
Fine, how was yours?
It was fine, we thank God. All right, we'll go straight to the papers of today, starting with the Vanguard. On Naira value, experts kick as Osibanjo seeks play of market forces. You want to get more detail of this story? Do well to get the Vanguard and read details on page 5. Where Nigeria went wrong. This is coming from Asiodu. Nigeria must decisively tackle debt challenges, says Adesina. Blame federal government for security breakdown in Anambra, says Peter Obi. On 2022 budget, manufacturers list bottlenecks, seek fiscal monetary policy synergy. Seplat gets government support in energy transition bid. #EndSARS. Police kick as Showore plans memorial protest. Violence worsens with killings in Imo, Enugu, fear in Umuahia. APC moves to avert crisis, reconstitutes reconciliation committee. And on 2023, reps seek to strip police, DSS orders powers to prosecute electoral offenders. Grant amnesty to Kanu Igboho to end separatist agitations, Methodist prelate tells Buhari. And these are all the stories making headline on the Vanguard for today. Do well to get the paper and read more details. You can also call us later on the show when our phone lines will be open, as you can also send in your comments and views on stories that interest you on our Facebook page at ECWA Television, as we are also live there. Let's move on to the next paper, Tosin.
Which is the Daily Times newspaper. And coming from the African Development Bank boss, he's saying Nigeria must decisively tackle its debt challenges. But the rider says youth need investment, not handouts. Who will complete key projects before 2023. Buhari assures and approves 13.3 billion naira for takeoff of community policing initiative. And on the news, we have while we are implementing asset deprivation for bank executive, coming from EFCC. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Monday explained that its directive to bankers to declare their assets was not a witch hunt, but aimed at sanitizing the banking sector. And on politics, Tinubu ready for next political move, coming from Sanwo-Olu. Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu on Sunday declared that Bola Tinubu is fit and ready for his next political move. Sanwo-Olu made the comment at an event in honor of the All Progressive Congress APC leader. And for business, allow Naira reflect realities of the market, Osibanjo tells CBN. Vice President Yemi Osibanjo has called on the Central Bank of Nigeria to allow the Naira to reflect the realities of the market. The last story on the Daily Times newspaper, Ogoni groups insist on Ken Saruwiwa's innocence, asks federal government for justice. And details of this story can be found on page 6 of the Daily Times newspaper. And that's all the news making headlines on the Daily Times newspaper.
Thank you, Tosin. Up next is First News on 2023. Don't cause crisis between Tinubu, Osibanjo, VP camp warns, but keeps silence on Osibanjo's reported presidential ambition. While on security, Buhari releases 13.3 billion naira for community policing comes short of endorsing state police. Nupeng suspends strike as NNPC promises roads rehabilitation. Alleged 6.9 billion naira fraud. Fayoshe's trial resumes December 1st. Time not ripe for youths with presidential ambition, says Saraki. Uzodinma laments death of 2 soldiers in Imo's clash. 70 houses, 45 vehicles burnt, traditional ruler claims. The last story here says 34 years after Burkina Faso to try Comparer for Sankara's murder. That's all the stories we have on First News. Do well to read more details of stories that interest you as you get the paper.
And for Daily Independent newspaper, federal government shall have borrowed to grow economy, not only exit recession, coming from Obi. And Buhari okays 13 billion naira for community policing volunteers, direct local production of weapons to meet armed forces needs. And the big story says safety concern in aviation as skilled staff dump agencies. Pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers resign in Marseille. EFCC lament rising corruption among bank officials, with the rider justifies declaration of assets directives. And the news can be found on page 4 of the Daily Independent newspaper. And on hashtag #EndSARS, Lagos police warns against planned memorial protest. State Congress, APC makes drug test mandatory for contestants in Kano. Nigerian Eagle, pilots, engineers warns National Assembly to steer clear of NCAA, says reps undermining agency's autonomy. And here we have on PDP chairmanship, Highwire Act stall aspirants from picking forms. Party fixes national chairman's form for 5 million naira. Deputy chairman and national scribe 3 million naira. 2022 Guba election, I'm ready to contest and win Ekiti, coming from Oni with the news in page 29. And for the last story, leave us out of politics, IPOB warns Senator Uba, and details can be found in page 2 of the Daily Independent newspaper. That's all the story making headlines on Daily Independent newspaper.
And up next is the Nigerian News Direct. We have the big story on ministerial performance review retreat. Federal government approves 13 billion naira for community policing. As Buhari Defense Ministry to create industry for production in country. Establishes 75 billion naira for Nigerian Youth Investment Program. Certificate forgery. ICPC dogs ex-presidential aide Ogbono Obla. State gaming regulators to clamp down on underage gaming money laundering. Osibanjo, Oyetola, Akeredolu orders to attend Oni's annual birthday symposium. NCDMB hands over ultramodern technical workshops in Akwa Ibom. Still on hashtag #EndSARS, Lagos Ocean Police Commands warn against planned protests. The last story on Girl Child Education Day, Oyetola signs Violence Against Persons Bill into law. That's all the stories we have on the Nigerian News Direct, where we have 2 different picture stories here. You want to get details of these picture stories and what they have to say, do well to get the paper and read more details.
And for the Daily Sun newspaper, coming from the former Deputy Senate President, ECWA, he's saying, we are working for Nnamdi Kanu's release. Waziriki laments raiding of BMM Masop office in Imo by naval personnel. Star singer Casey Kofi Taguru to thrill at the Sun Awards. Benga Adeyinka returns as host. And the big story here, Osibanjo recommends devaluation of Naira, claims exchange rate artificially low. Nigeria must decisively tackle its debt challenges, coming from additional. Seplat Energy will provide solution to African energy challenge. Second Niger Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, others to be completed by 2023, coming from the President of the country, Muhammadu Buhari. 3 pupils, siblings feared killed as commercial vehicle runs over them. That's a sad note, and we pray for the fortitude to bear this great loss. Why we are implementing asset declaration for banks executive, coming from EFCC, and the full news can be found on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Pandora Papers. I have 15 million naira dollars, not $500 million in offshore accounts, coming from Peter Obi. Buhari's second term productive and remarkable. If you really want to know who is saying that, you find them in the Daily Sun newspaper. And designate Enugu as oil-bearing state, coming from Ugwuanyi. And that's all the story making headlines on the Daily Sun newspaper.
And moving on to this day, in break with Buhari, Osibanjo wants Naira devalued to market rates. Analysts urge caution, say local production exports way out of FX crisis. Seplat's energy transition plan for national growth gets federal government's endorsement. And based on a report, 44% of Nigerian girls married before 18th birthday. As the world yesterday commemorated the National Day of the Girl Child, a new report by the Save the Children International revealed that gender inequality had continued to fuel child marriage, with an estimated 44% of girls in Nigeria married before their 18th birthday, one of the highest rates of child marriage globally. The report also disclosed that child marriage kills more than 60 girls daily worldwide. Similarly, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has revealed that in Nigeria, an estimated 1.3 million girls drop out of school each year before reaching the last year of lower secondary school, also known as junior secondary school, JSS 3. In a related development, the Federation I take that again. In a related development, the Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, yesterday called on government at all levels in Nigeria to do everything possible to reduce the digital gender gap in the country. The Save the Children International, a global organization, said girls in Nigeria were living in difficult times as a result of armed conflict, humanitarian crisis, kidnapping, natural disaster, displacement, COVID-19 pandemic, and economic recession. The organization stated this in this year's Global Girlhood Report titled The State of Nigerian Girls, an incisive diagnosis of child, early and forced marriage in Nigeria. The group stated that Nigerian girls were living in one of the most difficult times. It also added that millions of girls face the risk of being pushed into deprivation, including reduced access to education, nutrition, lack of protection, and lack of access to basic social services. Nigeria to commence local production of weapons, says Buhari. And the last story here on 2023, no rift between Tinubu Osinbajo, says Ojudu. You want to get more detail of this story, do well to get this day and read more details. If you have other stories that interest you, you can do well, as we will open our phone lines later. Then you can call us. Let's hear your views.
Thank you. Moving to the Nation newspaper. Sit at home continues in Southeast. Police warns #EndSARS protesters in Lagos and Osun State. Why I stopped Ndubisi Kanu for burial by George. Oyo not denying council's fund, says Makinde. And on Anambra 2021, APC tackles Abga over comments on Ngige. Ozigbo, the man our people deserve. Equinife advised against political apathy. And the big story here says Buhari lists achievements. Buhari in the midterm ministerial performance retreat listed his administration's achievements while also speaking on his efforts at fighting insecurity and plans to begin local production of arms. The president might sack some ministers as he personally supervised their appraisal at the midterm ministerial performance retreat. Government target local production of weapons, 13.3 billion naira for community policing. As at second quarter 2021, GDP growth rate was at 5.1%, the highest since the inception of this administration. Naira exchange rate should reflect market realities, says Osinbajo. Experts are saying deduction of money not necessary now, and full details of those story can be found in the Nation newspaper. And those are the headlines making stories on the Nation newspaper.
Thank you, Tosin. Moving on to The Guardian. The big story says federal government faces tough choices over likely Naira devaluation. AFDB faults federal government's $35.5 billion debt toll economic development model. We are making progress on infrastructure development, says Buhari. Naira weakens to 565 naira per dollar. CBN does not trust market mechanism, says Yusuf. Economists seek caution on devaluation, worry about inflation. In apparent contradiction of its earlier stance on floating the Naira, the federal government yesterday prevailed on the Central Bank of Nigeria to allow the currency to reflect market realities. According to the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the exchange rate is artificially low, and this is deterring investors from bringing foreign exchange into the country, adding that the current practice, which places the official rate at 410 naira, is not a realistic reflection of the nation's economic fortunes. Osinbajo spoke at the opening of a two-day midterm ministerial performance and review retreat held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja yesterday. The vice president stated that the dollar scarcity crisis can only be fixed when the market is made to reflect the real status of the economy, arguing that the current demand strategy of the CBN has kept the rate artificially low. Oil price at one point fell even below production cost, about $10 a barrel, and then finally settled at about $45 a barrel during the second quarter of 2020. Southeast gets secretary as microzoning crisis threatens PDP convention. Aspirants fail to buy forms. Northern leaders meet today to finalize zoning arrangements. PDP fixes 5 million naira for chairmanship form. Deputy National Chairman, National Secretary, 3 million naira. On APC crisis, Adamu Dogara orders to parley Tinubu Akande to reconcile warring groups. On 2023, attempts to divide Tinubu Osibanjo will fail, says Ojudu. Child marriage kills more than 60 girls daily. Research workers begin indefinite strike tomorrow, alleged misuse of COVID-19 funds. Intrigues as Supreme Court reserves ruling in governor's 66 billion naira judiciary suit against federal government. 6 women, 9 children escaped from Boko Haram in Yobe. The last story here says Customs restores VAT, multiple charges on imported aircraft spare parts. These are all the stories we have on The Guardian. We also have a picture story here. You want to get more details of this picture story, do well to get The Guardian and read the full details.
And on the Punch newspaper, on budget, we have federal government allocates 4.2 billion naira to moribund Ajaokuta steel. Work begins on 16.39 trillion naira budget. Senate panel gets documents today. Prelate proposes 25,000 naira lagis for repentant Boko Haram bandits. Experts differs as Osibanjo says exchange rate artificially low, with details on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Punch files FOI request on military, police salary structures and pension. Federal government stopped residency payments after strike suspension. And this is coming from the National Association of Resident Doctors. The big story on the Punch newspaper says, state laments deductions, demands probe. Subsidy rises to 8.2 billion naira daily. The rider says full subsidy opaque. NNPC acts as government on its own, says Commissioners Forum. States helpless over deduction, federal government a dictator, coming from the Delta State Commissioner. And the picture story here, President Major General Muhammadu Buhari, the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, and other federal government officials and guest speaker during the midterm ministerial performance review retreat at State House in Abuja. Lagos nurses kicks against 20,000 naira demand for retirement celebration. Evacuated destitutes, area boys to be kept for monitoring, coming from the Ondo State government. Lassa fever kills 77 in Edo, Ondo, others 356 hospitalized. And sit at home, gunshot rocks Anambra, guard killed in Enugu, Imo grounded. 250 investors lament at 20 billion naira agro-business scheme promoted by Nollywood actors collapses. And the last story making headlines on the Punch newspaper is ICPC arraigns ex-presidential aide Obonu Obla for certificate forgery, with the details in page 30 of the Punch newspaper. And those are the stories making headlines on the Punch newspaper.
Thank you, Tosin. Moving on to Business Day. Business leaders caution federal government over unproductive borrowing. The last story says criticism trails Nigeria's failure to recognize fully vaccinated citizens. That's all we have on the Business Day.
And for the Nigerian Tribune, which is the last paper for this day, we have why I ordered Ndubisi Kadu's corpse not to be released for burial. This is coming from the judge. Pandora document confiscate my property if $500 million is traced to me, coming from Peter Obi. Oyo APC members divided over zoning formula make reconsider Alao Akala Council recommendation. And the big story says Naira exchange rate artificially low, coming from the Vice President Yemi Oshibanjo. Says CBN competing with MDAs in fiscal terms. Buhari okays 13.3 billion naira for takeoff of community policing. Directs military to establish complex for local arms production. International Girl Child Day, Kano, Bauchi governors vacate seat for 14-year-old. Commercial bus runs over 3 school children of same family in Osun. Suspected cultists kill prophet father in Akwa Ibom. Police warns against NSAS commemoration protest in Lagos and Osun. And coming from Governor Kayode Fáyẹ̀mí of Ekiti State, every child should be in school. The abolition of education tax, restoration of free and compulsory and qualitative education from primary 1 to SS3, and the massive investment in infrastructure in the education sector have increased student enrollment as well as reduced the rate of dropouts from our public schools. In addition to the 4 model college already established in the state capital, 5 new ones are being flagged off to cater for the surge in enrollment, which rose from 119.125 to 141.90, and from 84.146 to 109.140 in our primary and secondary schools, respectively, between 2018 and 2021. Those are all the stories making headlines on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Thank you, Tosin. Now we'll take a break, and when we return, our phone lines will be open where you can call us, as you can still send in your comments while we are live on Facebook.
It's Worship the King 2021, and the city of Gombe is hosting you and I. ECWA Television Africa invites you to join in worshiping the only King with the Evangel Arts Gombe, Palm Monday, Autan Zaki, Deborah Micah, Ibi Dave, Raymond Diaye, Penam Bande, Kontongs, Nizi Adams, Fred Quada, Naomi Musa, Israel Daniel, Joe Flames, The Levites, Randy Mani, Tabitha Megandi, Ima Sobok, Paul Kofa, Smiling Face, AB Vocals, James Sachs, Bayila Dalaki, Gift Jeb, ECWA Gospel Band off Ashaka Road, ECWA Praise Band Gospel GRA, ECWA Praise Band Gospel Galilee Tumfre, Gospel Band ECWA OG, Dynamic Drummers. with special prayer sessions for Nigeria, Gombe State and all its top government officials, political title holders or politicians, the church, businessmen, civil servants, families, and students by the ECWA executive and the leadership of Gombe DCCs. Date for the Worship the King is Friday 15th to Saturday 16th October 2021 at Echo Good News GRA Gombe State, Nigeria by 2 p.m. daily with a special music minister seminar and a media training on Thursday 14th October 2021 at 10 a.m. the same venue. Spend these 2 days worshiping the King and watch what happens to you next. Worship the King Gombe 2021 is brought to you by ECWA TV Africa, Evangel Arts of ECWA and its digital marketing platform idims.com, supported by Gombe DCCs. The city of Gombe worships the King.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is from the Dailies on ECWA TV Africa, where we review stories making headline on our national dailies. And Tosin, looking at the stories we've reviewed so far and this report on This Day newspaper, which says 44% of Nigerian girls married before 18th birthday. UNICEF has gathered reports saying that child marriage kills more than 60 girls daily worldwide, and over 1.3 million females drop out of school annually in Nigeria. Lawyers seek reduction in digital gender gap. Really, it's disheartening that the girl child has so much to suffer, given that the society has provided it to be like that, and to an extent people have been in support of the early child marriage, which is really not good, because you can see that when you look at issues that are going on, most especially in Nigeria today, West Africa, even Africa in general, before you talk about the world entirely, you would see that there are cases ravaging around the girl child, and it has caused so much. You can see that the girl child is forced to marry at an early age, and then you see issues of tradition, which gives the girl child that chance to marry at an early age. But really, the digital world we are today has given us power to do beyond what tradition is saying, and there are things that tradition shouldn't be looking at when you talk of a digital world today. And for the fact that we are in the 21st century, there are some things we are not supposed to be looking at, talking about health challenges that come after these issues of early child marriage. It's really disheartening that the girl child has to go through a lot. And just like you mentioned yesterday, every girl child is special, and the girl child should be given all the opportunities, equal opportunities in the world today. And for the fact that we're looking at embracing education, the girl child should also be given that opportunity. When a child is supposed to be in school enjoying her adolescent age, she's already thinking of taking care of another child, or even the man she is married to. It's really not a good one. And when you talk about insanity too, these are some of the things that bring about issues of insanity. I mean, if the woman is not sane, if she's not mentally fit, she can't even take care of herself, not to talk of her children or even the husband and the home generally, and to even relate with the people in the society. So you can see how that these cases are ravaging around the girl child today. And in Nigeria, we already have 44% of the girl child getting married even before their 18th birthday. Really, it is not a good note. And looking at how this early marriage kills this number of women or children, girl child, on a daily basis, it's really something that should be reversed on. It's really something that the society should look into and talk on how we can do better by the side of a girl child.
Yes, and we're grateful that this day has come to pass and also is being celebrated when we had in Kano State and also in Bauchi State, where the seat of the governor was evacuated for 14-year-old girls to rule for that day, to see that they have so many intellectual, they have so many instincts in the girl child. They believe in the girl child also, and not just the girl child alone, but we have the both gender, even the male also. They should be given the opportunity. They should be given the opportunity to education, to quality education, not just education. And also in an era where we have skill acquisition, they should also be given this opportunity. There are people who find it difficult in the four walls of the classroom. They should have the opportunity to learn skills, because we still have people making us proud with the works of their hands. Children should be given this opportunity. And we still have people who treat minors in a bad way in different places. This is time for those people to come to their right senses. And even those who have been apprehended in this act, this wicked act, they should face the full wrath of the law. It's not all about them just being arrested and released later on. They should feel the full wrath of the law, so that those who are in this act, they should learn from this mistake and know that definitely there's a punishment for everyone who infringing the right of a child, either male or female. And we can applaud the effort of the governor of Ekiti State in looking at quality education for children and also free education, that's from your primary level to SS3. You can see that this is another way to encourage people on the usefulness and importance of going to school, because with this opportunity given to these people, the people in Ekiti State, you see that they have the right to go to school and also have quality education when you talk about the school. And this is how we are looking out to other state governors. If this can be provided for children in their community, even for children in the state, we'll have children going to school, and we'll see that the rate at which child trafficking is going on in our country will be less, because we see that issue of child trafficking, it narrows down to poverty, where parents feel that okay, they don't have the means to sponsor their children. Then a relative can just come from nowhere and feel okay, I can sponsor your child if only he or she stay with me. Then we see issue of child trafficking coming into play. We see child labor. We see children going into marriage at an early age. You see that all these things, when we have quality education and it's offered to people free, they can appreciate education and even go to school, and this will reduce all those practices that we have that are against the law of children and against children at those ages. Because you see that even in our hospital here at the Bingham University, we have a department where we see those who have this VVF as a result of early marriage and also childbirth, and we see that how it has affected them, and they have to go with this for their whole life. You see that this is also affecting the child, and it brings about low self-esteem to the girl child. So something needs to be done about. If only we not just celebrate this day as just a normal day to celebrate, but we hamper the importance of celebrating this day and the right to treat every child in a special way. If we sound this into the ears of parents and guardians, then this will be important to know that every child needs to be deserved, trained well, because we should not just bring a child into the world and train and leave the child to grow on its own at the detriment of his own. You can just learn anything from anywhere. We should train the child the right way, because even the Bible says we should train up a child in the way he or she should grow, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. So the right to train a child, the right to quality education, education lies in your hands, and we'll just hope that the state governments will intercede in all this, where we have free education and quality education for the children.
Of course, I agree with you on that. You know, Tosin, still looking at our nation today and checking the circle of leadership, you will know that something is wrong somewhere when we still have leaders in key positions coming out to say the time is not ripe for youth with presidential ambition in the country. When you check the circle of leadership, not just from independence, but let's talk about from democracy and from when the civil rule began, you will see that we've been recycling the same leaders. And trust me, when they were on the seat yesterday, they took wrong decisions. There is no how they will come back today and take the right decisions, because these people are, it's obvious that they are hungry for power alone and not with the interest of growth and development. If not, Tosin, we will be growing and not taking some steps backward rather than moving forward, when we are just growing in age and not growing in development or growth whatsoever. But still looking at that, you can see that this story on First News, rather the story on News Direct, which says that ICPC dogs ex-presidential aide Ogbono Obla has certificate forgery case ongoing. You can see that the system is really broken, not just from education, not just from how we put people into position. You can also try to look at other sectors. If this person who held a position as this had a certificate, a fake certificate, we are not supposed to be getting this information today. We're not supposed to be realizing it today. I mean, we have examination bodies that register schools for them to be able to have certificates from the junior secondary school or the senior secondary school, from universities. They are registered and linked to all these examination bodies or schools that we have in Nigeria today. If we don't check all of these things from the beginning, trust me, we'll always have cases like this come up at the end of the day. If it was a WAEC or NECO result, what happened to this school that provided the result? Where was the school registered? These are some of the things that should be checked. We have JAM, a body that check all of these things before you gain admission into the universities. What happened when all of these things were not checked? It all goes down to the issue of accountability. We lack giving accounts for what we are being placed to handle in our hands. Because if we give accounts of these things, trust me, issues of certificate forgery will not come up. And today in Nigeria, we won't be talking of people in key positions who have served and left offices, and then cases like this still coming up at the end of the day. It still goes back to talking about quality education. If at all the country is aimed at giving quality education, there will be no issue of certificate forgery whatsoever. And if at all we value education to that extent, all of these things will be scrutinized. People will be scrutinized even before they are given key positions to run at the end of the day. And issues like this will not come up. And trust me, Tosin, when you look at all of these issues, when you talk about education, you talk about health, you talk about bad roads, you talk about all the sectors that are being run in Nigeria, they are all broken. And because they are linked and interrelated, trust me, we'll always get one issue relating to the other. And at the end of the day, we'll still be taking steps backward until we decide and be intentional about what we aim for tomorrow, about the future of Nigeria. Trust me, we will not move an inch. And it starts today, it begins today, when we give the chance to doing things right and then giving account or taking responsibility for our decisions. Trust me, issues like this will not come up in years to come. And then looking at how the federal government now is still, like in the past 6 years, we have monies or funds being sent into sectors that are not operating, sectors that have been idle. In the past 6 years, we have the Ajaokuta, for instance, steel production company that has been idle. But every year we come up with a budget and money is allocated to this sector, to this industry. Why? Because the system is broken. And why are these funds still going into this sector when we don't have people being productive at the end of the day? What is happening to the country? What is happening to all these sectors? And what is happening to all the people that are supposed to be held accountable for all of these monies? At the end of the day, we have people being paid for what they did not work for. Others are working, others are putting in their best and efforts. At the end of the day, they don't get paid. What is really happening? And why are we still funding sectors that are idle or have been idle all these years? These are some of the questions that Nigerians are asking, and they still remain unanswered. Why? Because we are not taking that bold step to ensure that we do things right, to make efforts towards ensuring that we fix this country for our own good. And if we do not fix it for ourselves, trust me, nobody will fix it for us. And if we keep growing like this, just like we're growing in debt on daily basis, we'll still continue to ask questions. Nigerians out there will ask questions of how are we going to pay this debt? Are we going to use our children as collateral for this debt? Are we going to exchange the country as the payments for this debt that we are accumulating on a daily basis? Something needs to be done, trust me.
Obviously, something needs to be done. When we talk about our leaders being power drunk, you see that they can go at any rate just to see that they occupy those positions that they are occupying. Then what happens to the youth being leaders of tomorrow? Up till date, the tomorrow has not come where youth will assume such position. You can see the kind of amounts being allocated for positions when you talk about the PDP chairmanship and even the deputy national chairmanship. We're talking of over 5 million naira for the chairmanship position and 3 million naira for the the deputy chairmanship position. Where do you expect the youth to get all this? You can see that they have this money and it keep recycling amongst them. That's why you see that even all the sectors, they are being headed by human beings, and you see promises going to those people. When you make this, when you forge this certificate for me and I occupy this position, I will give you a key appointment. And you see that someone who don't even understand about a different sector will be given appointment to head a sector, and he or she will go there and fumble. And we'll see that issue of corruption keep on going on, keep mismanagement of fund becomes the order of the day in a country where we have children of people occupying key position seen with issues of fraud because they feel it's our money, we can use the money anyhow. And we see issues like that coming up. We see issue of mismanagement of funds coming up. Now we see that in the aviation sector, those who occupy key position, the main driving force in the aviation sectors, they are resigning. What are we running into as a country? What can we say about all this? And look at, these are all sectors that will help us as a country. These are sectors that if they are developed well, it will help us and even boost our GDP. We're talking about running into debt as a country. How do we get out of all this debt that we are running into? But when we look at other country, that are striving hard, other country that we go to them to borrow money from, it's not about going there to borrow money and crack jokes amongst ourselves. Ask them, how did they go about all this? Because they've been in difficult situation. How did they overcome? How did they become this rich and independent that we can even go to them to borrow money from? Look at key sectors that will help us in boosting our country's GDP. They are the ones lying idle. Look at the education sector, nothing to write home about, where we have the former president talking about the Nigerians helping to boost the GDP of foreign countries. What happens to if we have other foreigners coming to study in our country? Look at the aviation sector that we have, where people can come into our country and even go out, where we can have foreign investors coming to invest in our country. And now we see that even the pilots, we have the traffickers in the pilots in the airports are resigning. Then what are we going to say about this? Look at the agriculture sector, nothing to write home about. Something needs to be done to fight insecurity. We need to help invest our country and not just go to other countries to do different things. We should also learn from them. Look at our health sector. We are still having issues again, even in the health sector. We need to do something about. If we really want to become the Nigeria of our dream, then we need to invest in all this. And the president is looking at before 2023, all key projects will be implemented and will be finished. We look up to that time and we hope to see that all these projects will come to pass, because we see that even the road, with our roads, we don't have good roads in our country. In the whole 36 states, we don't have good roads, and now they are used as traps and also hideouts for bandits and terrorist group. And now we see the issue of money being allocated for the community policing. We can say it's another step to fight insecurity. Despite the fact that the president gave the IGP the order to recruit more police into the police sector. We can see the state policing, although those people who have been doing the work are just volunteers. We just hope that this money that is allocated to the volunteers of state policing will get to them, because it's not about allocating this money, but getting to the people that is allocated to. That's why you see corruption. Everyone will start taking his own cut out of the money. We just hope that it gets to those people. There's something needs to be done about fighting insecurity, because every day we keep having issues of insecurity in the country. We just hope that this money, and it will be another way to boost the morale of those that are volunteering to be state police, to also work harder for us to fight insecurity as a country.
Thank you, Tosin. And looking at the fact that we have people already coming out with the ambition of the presidential seat, you will still see that these people were maybe one-time governor or two-time governor, people who were already occupying some key positions in politics and leadership of the country in years past. This is the time where we should have a change of governance, because these people will be recycled and they will still come back and do the same thing they've been doing all these years. All we are praying for is good governance. And then looking at the issue of good governance, you know, last year the protest, or the hashtag #EndSARS protest, began in agitation against the bad governance, and you can see that it's already a year and there's a planned protest coming up to commemorate the 1 year hashtag #EndSARS protest. Police is warning against the protests in Lagos and Ogun. I believe that Nigerians will not get tired of agitating and advocating against bad governance. This is not the time we should be warning against peaceful protests. Rather, we should hear what the people have to say to the government. Let's hear the voices in the streets out there. I mean, these are the people who are facing all the negativity and all the bad things happening in our nation today. They have a say in governance, and if people are coming out for a peaceful protest just in the name of advocating against bad governance, they should be allowed to protest, and the government should open their ears wide to hear what these people have to say. Let's not have the case of what happened in the #EndSARS protest last year, 2020, where we had casualties, we had people lost their life. Prominent Nigerian youths with a promising future lost their lives to this. I believe this is not the time that people who are still alive want to keep short, want to keep quiet and allow bad governance to continue ravaging the country round. The hashtag #EndSARS protest, we believe, is a source or an initiative of trying to bring out bad governance in Nigeria, and so it should be allowed to go on. And that's all the package we have for you today. Thank you for staying with us. Tosin, what do you have for our viewers?
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning.
Thank you so much, Tosin, and thank you to you, our viewers, for always tuning in. As I will always lament, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Let's all have this understanding and give peace a chance. Do have a blessed day ahead.